Hi guys, I'd like to open up a discussion on these two-stroke motors in terms of engine break-in, and I'm hoping some of you guys can enlighten me about breaking in certain motors and just exactly what's involved. I've been dealing with these motors since 2006. I've built a lot and whatnot, and the only reason I'm showing you these pictures is just to give you something to look at while I'm talking. But I have built a lot of motors. I got a lot of extra spare parts. Most of these are all dinosaurs. They're CYs, they're 2 bolts. I no longer use them. I just kept them around for, God, whatever reason. I just found a box in my garage the other day. I got cranks, different cranks, flywheels. Here's a Leighton flywheel. This one's missing a fin on it. And so I want to open up this discussion because I do have some questions on engine break-in. I'm in no way trying to tell people how to break in an engine. I don't have any more experience at this than all of you guys, and again, I hope to take away some knowledge about breaking in engines. I'm going to tell you my experiences with breaking in motors and what I've done and the outcome. And then I'd like to get a topic of discussion going back and forth so I can learn a few things, because it's still a mystery to me about this whole engine break-in thing. But it's a very controversial subject because, as we all know, certain things like these gas two-stroke motors, they all take two-stroke oil. I think we all can agree on that. We don't all agree on exactly what oil to gas mixture to mix them at, but we all agree that they need two-stroke oil, or you're probably going to seize them because that's important. Secondly, carburetor adjustment. We all adjust our carburetors differently at a different setting and whatnot. But again, we all agree that the carburetors need to be adjusted. There's a high and a low needle. It's imperative that we get those tuned so we got maximum running efficiency, as well as the idle screw. And then there's break-in procedure. Well, here we go. Break-in procedure, how does that differ? Not only do we disagree on how to do it, but there's been long-term controversy on whether or not it even needs to be done. Okay? I've done it a couple of different ways. We all have our own ideas of how to break in a motor. We think it works the best. That's fine. As long as our motor runs well after that, and we got longevity out of it and reliability, that's all that really matters. So here we go. I've broken in motors a number of different ways over the years since 2006. Most of the motors I've broken in, especially recently, have been this simple for me. Now, assuming that I have the correct oil mixture in my gas, I normally go 20-1 or 25-1. Assuming that I properly tuned my carburetor, I present the question to you: how do you break a motor in improperly, based on if those two things are correct? Here's what I worry about when I break my motor in and start it for the first time. I worry about 3 things, and I'll tell you what I worry about because it's happened to me a number of times. I start it up, and I know within the first 15 to 30 seconds, if nothing goes wrong and it starts, then I've overcome these 3 fears that I have. Number 1, these circlips right here, as you can see, fallen out, that weren't put in properly, that hold the pin in, that sticks through the piston the rod and holds it to the piston, sticks through the crank. If those fall out, you're in trouble. And I had them fall out. And then they're going to seize your motor, they're going to get in between the piston and the cylinder, and bad things are going to happen. I've had that happen. So I'm worried about that on engine break-in. Number 2, I'm worried about this bearing right here, these pin bearings, going bad and having pieces fall out. I also had that happen before, faulty ones. So not only these pin bearings that go in the piston there on the rod, but I'm also worried about the pin bearing down here on your crank going bad. I've had that happen. I've seized 3 motors because this bearing down in here is bad, and you can't change that out. When you order a crank, it already comes on it. The crank arm and the crank is all together. So if I've had pieces of these fall out, and I couldn't figure it out, what the problem was. So you live and learn. So those are really the three things I worry about for engine break-in. Other than that, for the most part, what I've done is I'll start my engine up, I'll let it run for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, let it warm up, and then I'll run it like a bat out of hell. I don't take it easy, I don't go easy on it, I'll run it like a bat out of hell. Is that the wrong thing to do? Maybe. Have I done that with all my motors? No. I once, and only once, had a full mod motor, and I babied it. I did the heat cycling thing. I started it up, I let it run for maybe 10 minutes, I goosed it around, I went real slow, I didn't go over half throttle, then I let it shut off, cool down for 20 minutes, did the whole thing. Ultimately that motor blew up. I don't think it has anything to do, though, on how I broke it in, as far as that goes. I used to run at a track called Basher's Haven. It was a 2.5-hour drive down to this track. So one day I had a problem with my coil or something. I don't know what it was. I decided as I got the head off, I'm going to go ahead and put a new Zenoah head on it. In fact, it was one of these. The best motor I ever had was a G260. That would be a 2-bolt, 26cc Zenoah. And I ran the living piss out of that motor for I don't know how long. That particular head, and it's not this one here, this is a new one I've never used, but it was a G260 head. I threw it on there, I started the thing, and I ran it like a bat out of hell. No warm-up, no nothing. That motor lasted me years. I can't even tell you how many tanks went through that motor. I mean, it ran like a bat out of hell. Once again, no break-in. Started it up, went like a bat out of hell. This was a full-speed track, okay, where you could almost run wide open. Didn't have a problem with it. Ran it for years. Maybe I got lucky, I don't know. But ever since then, I've been running a lot of my motors. Once again, I'll start them up. I'll make sure the circlips and the bearings don't go south, because that's going to happen right away. Then I'm relieved. I warm it up and I run it as I normally would, like I stole it. Again, that's just me. Now, interesting enough, over here I have 2 manuals. This is an old manual from Zenoah, which is for the G230, which is a 23cc 2-bolt Zenoah, and a G260, which is the 2-bolt 26cc Zenoah. And ironically, this manual over the years, and it's kind of interesting because these 2 motors took what you call a 603 carburetor. That's before the 668 was even out. But anyways, here's an updated manual of my G320, which I just got a few months back. And ironically, although on separate pages, they got the exact same paragraph that they've never changed over the years. Okay? And here's what it reads. This engine is already tuned up to get high power and high speed and needs correct maintenance to keep such high performance. The details for operation may be described in the separate owner's manual to be issued by the car manufacturer. Be sure to have the engine cool down for 30 seconds at idle speed after full throttle running. Now, what does that mean to you? It's already tuned up to get high power. Now, to me it means, in high speed, to me it means the motor's already broken in. It doesn't require any break-in. And if it does, whoops, they left that clause out here. Because it talks about starting it and how to start it. Okay? And then it goes right into operation. And that's all it really says. And ironically, over all these years, that particular paragraph has not changed from manual to manual. So I find that kind of interesting. So you guys decide, you tell me, please enlighten me. I have 2 questions for you I'd like to open up to this discussion. The first one being, what's the wrong way to break in an engine? Providing you have sufficient oil in your fuel and your carburetor is properly tuned and set. Okay? And number 2, what are the repercussions and the signs of doing so, of breaking in your engine wrong. What happens when you do that? How will I know? And I'm not trying to be sarcastic or facetious. I want to know. If I'm breaking my motor in wrong, how do I know? Does it run differently? Will I not know? Will I not get the full lifespan out of it? I mean, it's my opinion that when you start your motor, really what's happening in there, from what I see, and I'm no motor expert, is your Mr. Piston and Mr. Piston ring are going up and down, and they're mating with your cylinder. Okay, with Mrs. Cylinder, and they're getting to know each other, physically. What else is really going on in there? Okay, yeah, things are heating up, but to me, it's my opinion that really the biggest thing going on is your piston ring is mating with your cylinder. It's going up and down, it's finding its spot, it's honing things out if there's any real small problems in there, and they're mating together. Again, tell me what else is going on in there. Apparently a whole lot is going on in there if you got to run 4 or 5 tanks during the break-in session. And I see guys doing this. I'm on my 5th tank of break-in. What? I don't quite understand that. Tell me why you need to run several tanks of gas for a break-in on these motors. Enlighten me, please. But I just wanted to open this up for discussion. Let you know over the years how I'm breaking my motors in. I'm basically not. I'm starting them, I'm letting them warm up a little, and I'm driving them like a bat out of hell. Who knows? Maybe I'm not getting the full function out of my motors, but what do I got to compare it to? This is how I break mine in. This is what I do. And it's my opinion that I've gotten a lot of longevity over my motors. Why do I have so many motors? It's not because they wear out. It's because I get bored and I want something larger or something different. I love tinkering with these. Granted, here's some blow-by on a piston. Down here, some dark stuff and whatnot. But that's not necessarily, because I didn't break it in properly. It's because I wore the damn thing out. Probably needed a new ring in there. So stuff happens. But again, 2 questions. What's the wrong way to break your engine in, number 1? And number 2, how do I know when I'm breaking it in improperly? What are the signs to look for? Once again, I'd like to open this up for discussion. Let me know, guys, because I'm curious. Just wanted to open this up. Again, I'm not telling the new guys not to break your engine in. Everyone does it differently. But, it's my opinion that you can save a little bit of time, a little bit of oil, and a little bit of gas. And it's really not necessary to run these things 3, 4, 5 tanks on a break-in process. I don't understand that. I don't get it. So somebody enlighten me. Over and out, open for a discussion. Hope to hear from you all. Thanks. Bye.